Hi there, welcome back again to the Ivory Tower Collections. Today we're going to talk about this little board right here. So what is this board? Well, specifically, it is designed for one purpose, and that is to help with readjusting the color signal on the UAV board when it's installed in a 7800. It's tentatively been called the Chroma Fix for the 7800. Basically what this board does is it sends the color signal and delays it in such a way that it's more in sync with the other signals through the UAV board, and it helps to prevent some of the bleeding that kind of occurs on some of the colors on the edges. So what we're going to cover in this video is basically how to install one of these inside of a 7800. It doesn't matter if you already have a UAV installed or not. It's pretty easy to implement it into the circuit and to make it work for you. So first of all, special thanks have to go out to two AtariAge members for this specific design that you see here, which is Marauder666 and Juan Solo, two fine gentlemen out of the UK who came up with a wonderful way to set this up. So with that, let's talk about how to install it, because it's actually really easy. I have here an Atari 7800 mainboard that already has a UAV installed. Now, you don't have to install your UAV, of course, in the exact same way that you see here. This is just representative to kind of show you how this works. Now, here is the Chroma Fix board itself, and you can see that in comparison with the UAV, it's about half the size. So the way that you basically install this is there's only 4 connection points you need to worry about whenever you receive one of these. And that is that you need to provide it with 5 volts, you need to provide it with a connection to ground, but there's also 2 additional pads on the side here labeled usually as MC in and MC out. And what that means is Maria color in and Maria color out. There's 2 ways I'll describe how you can basically set this up and install it, and then I'm going to install it the way that I've actually essentially designed it to be installed. If you already have a UAV in place, here's what you're going to need to do for starters. You're going to need to remove your color input wire, probably already have in place. Now, if you haven't installed the UAV yet, then what you need to do, and we'll get into that, is basically have all the other wiring in place and ready to go, with the exception of your color input wire. So I'm going to show the quick, easy way to basically install this wherever you want. Again, the Chroma Fix board is really kind of small. So you could pretty much just affix it just about anywhere you want inside the console with, you know, some double-sided foam tape or something like that, whatever you prefer to use. So again, we need 4 points. We need to worry about 5 volts, ground, and then the Maria color input and Maria color output. Now, there's plenty of places to get your voltages and your ground, but I'll go ahead and rehash a few spots right now. Probably the main location, at least where I get my 5 volts and ground, is right along here in the middle of the board. This trace right here off to the left that comes down like this and sits directly next to this capacitor, this is positive 5. This is like the main 5 volt rail throughout the system. Directly next to it is a ground. Additionally, over here on this side of the IC chips towards the right hand side of the board, this is also 5 volts and this is also ground. So again, a couple of different places. Those are 2 real easy spots you can get ground and power from, because there's lots of unused vias on here to be able to do that. So that takes care of the 5 volt and ground. What about the MC in and MC out? Well, again, the MC in and MC out relate to the Maria color input. In the UAV installation, one of the wires that you have to install goes into a point over here by the output side marked as CON, or color input. So basically, this is the color input signal that comes off of the Maria chip. So all we really need to do is to make sure that the wire from the Maria, instead of it going into the CON, or to the color input pad on the UAV, it'll instead attach to the pad marked as MCN on the Chroma Fix board. And then you would attach another piece of wire from the MC out, and that goes into the color input on the UAV. So essentially all we're doing is we're intercepting the color input line before we put it over to the UAV. So again, you could install this pretty much however you want by just attaching 5 volt and ground and then running your color input wire and your color output wire back where it needs to go. in the purposes of this video, I'm going to go ahead and show you how I've designed this board so it can actually be installed on top of a UAV, preferably after you've got most of your other wiring in place. So, let's get to it. In order to install this board on top of the UAV, here's what you need to be aware of. There's all kinds of different wires that get connected up from the different video points along the resistor ladder here to the UAV. Now, in my particular case, I've actually installed the wiring by soldering it underneath the board. Obviously, if you've soldered it on top, that's not a problem, because there's plenty of room to still be able to essentially sandwich this on top if that's the route you go with. But you'll also notice that whenever you install the UAV in a 7800, you're only using the vias that are in the middle of the board located here. I know that I've got it covered up with this shrink wrap. So therefore, you have a set of vias to the far right and the far left that are not used, and that's actually designed or for other installation types where we actually put interconnect pins in there. In this case, we have all these pins available. Well, it turns out that because of the way the UAV is already designed, this unused via right here is actually positive 5 volts. So this 5 volt right here that you attach for the UAV is also right here. And of course, I'm sure you're about to guess where I'm going next. This unused via at the very bottom side here, that goes to ground. So yes, very nice and very easy and convenient. And as a result, I decided to design this little PCB to also situate itself in the exact same way. How do you attach it? Well, there's a couple things you can do. In this case, I'm going to just use these little, I've got these little break-off pins. Let's see, well, these are red, but you get the idea. And these are just for, you know, creating interconnections between different PCB sections. So basically what I'll do is I'll first solder them down into place where I need them to go for the 5 volt and ground. Pretty much like that. And then once I've got it soldered on in place, then all I have to do is just lay the Chroma Fix board on top, solder it back down again for the 5 volt and ground, and then just route my color input and my color output wires back out. Even if you don't have these little pins, these little interconnects that I'm talking about, it's not a problem. You could just use some sections of clipped leads from some components. A centimeter is more than enough to be able to attach this and get you where you need to go. But in this case, I'm just going to use these standoffs. And to make it a little easier, I'm going to go ahead and remove my UAV board temporarily so I can flip it over to be able to get to these solder points on the bottom. Okay, those are attached, no problem. Now I'm going to install my UAV back onto the board where it essentially belongs here. Now while I'm at it and I'm already thinking about it, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect my color input wire. Now I'm going to take my UAV Chroma Fix board right here. I've already got another small piece of wire. What is this? About, well, an inch would be fine. I'm only using just over a ½ inch here. But yeah, about an inch of length of wire. I've already got it attached to my color output or my MC out pad. So again, all I need to do here is just to set the Chroma Fix board right there and just solder up the pins. There we go. And then I need to attach my color input wire. And then what's left is to solder on my MC out wire I put in off the Chroma Fix board and solder it in place of where the color wire used to go. Installed and ready to go. Next thing we're going to do is clean this up a little bit. And then in this particular case, just to tidy it up a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and use some larger wire cutters. And I'm going to cut off the tops of the remaining interposer pins that were in place here. And that's it. That's all there is to the installation of the Chroma Fix. Now, one thing I will specify is that this is not an absolutely necessary thing to do on the 7800. You're still going to get really good composite and S-video output. But this board just does, it helps clean up the colors a little bit and make them a little more consistent. Following this, I'll have some direct comparison screenshots of some things to look at with some before and after, just kind of give you an idea of what it does. Again, it's not a critical, it's not a huge thing, and it may not provide the same results for everyone. But it's worked pretty good and really well in the installs that I've used it on. So yeah, thank you guys again. Catch you next time.